Hello everyone, Jai Hind and welcome to the platform of StudyIQ IAS in English. My name is Bhavar Singh Sir, MX India 115 course and qualified civil services in 2012, and I welcome you onto the platform. Now over here it is quite important to know that when it comes to the nuclear regime or the nuclear reactors, the civil nuclear reactors which are there, they are under the NPCIL or the Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited, and it is regulated by the AERB, that is Atomic Energy Regulatory Board. Now over here, what has really happened at the Kudankulam? Let's dive in and let's see how critical this is. Now what had happened was that there was a ransomware or the data extortion group operating a dark web leak site which is World Leak. Now over here it had targeted the Reliance Group or the Reliance Infrastructure, which is basically a contractor on the Kudankulam expansion, the unit 3 and the 4, and there is the entry point where a server that is hosted by the third party Indian data center provider Yota, it had been used. Basically it was not the NPCIL's own network, and the Reliance have confirmed that there had been partial breach and says that the government has been informed. Now over here this is quite important because ultimately when it comes to the complete scope of the breach, so the scope of the breach you can judge just by the fact that there are more than 19,000 of the files which had been published. There is 14.3 gigabyte of the data on the leak site, and there had been 8.58 lakh of the documents which had been allegedly stolen. Now this is quite important because over here the documents types which had been leaked, they pertains to the engineering blueprints and drawings, the supplier or the vendor details, the inspection records, the insurance documents, and the internal project files for the unit 3 and 4, that is nearly about a decade span. Now this is actually not the isolated playbook of the same group, because ultimately the same group, World Leaks, it had earlier demanded $1.5 million from Tata Group over the stolen files containing confidential Apple or the Tesla component designs as well. And then it had published the data after the Tata reportedly ignored the demand. So this is quite important because when it comes to the breach, it actually leaves us to the next question that we will going to decipher in this complete session. And the question is, can such kind of leak, it can trigger the nuclear disaster? Now we will be going ahead and we'll be covering this complete question in this session. But before that, let me tell you that we have the GS Foundation batch, that is Resolution P2I batch, available on the platform of StudyIQ, that you can enroll in by using the code that is BRS Live, that will fetch you the maximum discount onto the platform. Now this is quite important because a similar incident had happened in 2019 as well. Now let me tell you what happened in 2019, that on September 4, 2019, the CERT notifies NPCIL of a threat actor breach, the malware that was later identified as the D-Track. Now in September-October 2019, the NPCIL, it confirmed the infected PC was on the internet facing the admin network isolated from the critical internal network. Now on October 20th, 2019, the authorities publicly confirmed the hack, reversing the earlier denial that was by the NPCIL. And on 28th of October 2019, the researchers, they claims the domain controller level access was obtained and D-Track sample was found with the hard-coded KKNPP credentials. And later on, the cybersecurity firms, they have attributed this, the breach or the cyber attack or the D-Track to the North Korea's Lazarus Group. Now when it comes to this particular timeline that we are talking about, the 2026 incident, so what had happened was that in 2026, the ransomware group World Leaks posted a large file cache to the dark web, claiming a contractor breach, not the plant itself. Now there are nearly about 19,000 files or 14.3 GB of the data which had been uploaded from the alleged 8.58 lakh of the document cache tied to the Reliance Group, and the Reliance Group have confirmed that there had been partial breach on a server hosted by third-party provider Yota, and government had been informed. Now over here again we are seeing the same tendency where the NPCIL, it had pushed back, maintaining that no reactor safety data had been exposed, and CERT is investigating this right now, and there is no PMO or the Department of the Atomic Energy statement which has come out yet as of now. Now let me tell you that how the nuclear plant architecture it works, or how the nuclear plant it is layered. So there are actually three layers when where we are talking about. The first layer is the layer of the corporate or the IT layer that is there, where it is actually basically about the email, the HR, the vendor portals which are there, the admin networks, and this is where we have the internet facing, or it is connected to the internet, and the 2019 and 2026 breaches, they happened here or upstream from here. Now, there is the second layer, which is basically the operations of the plant or plant operations, where actually we have the historians, we have the engineering workstations, the SCADA supervisory servers, and this is the critical choke point for the nuclear plant. And this had been segmented by the firewalls and even by the data diodes. Now, there is the third layer as well, that is OT or operational technology. This is about the reactor protection, the safety instrumented system, and there is the real-time control of the core parameters. Now, this layer is the most, you can say, secured layer of the nuclear plant, where it is physically air-gapped. The layer defense in depth protects above all. So, these are the three layers in which a nuclear plant, it actually functions. Now, this is very important because the contractor security also matter. Now, when it comes to the modern attackers, they are increasingly targeting the contractors and the vendors rather than the primary, organization. Now, this is because there is the same sensitive information that is available on their platform as well, but it is guarded by far less security. So, there is a asymmetry over here, where ultimately a nationally guarded facility as compared to the mid-size engineering firm server is where we have the nationally guarded facility which is under the deep layer protection which cannot be breached easily. And that is why these cyber attacks, they actually move towards the contractor security. Now, there is same payoff where the attacker gets equivalent design or the layout data either way. And also the scale is where there are the large projects which run through the dozens of the contractors, and here each of the contractor, they are the potential weak link into the complete nuclear architecture. There is a precedent where ultimately we have seen the Target Corporation in 2013 in US was breached by the HVAC contractor's credential itself, and therefore this is quite important as well when it comes to the contractor's security also. Now, these leaked documents actually matters, alright, although when it comes to the NPCIL is saying that there is no reactor safety data that was exposed. It is likely true, but apart from this point, this data actually matters. Why it matters, let me tell you, it is because of the infrastructure mapping. There are the physical layouts, there are the support system locations which are useful for the sabotage planning. There is also the supply chain targeting, where the supplier list, they will reveal which vendor to compromise next, and ultimately that could chain or that could turn into the feedback loop. There is also the social engineering, where the names, the jargon and the workflows, they make the future phishing far more convincing, and even the financial exposure, where we have the insurance documents which reveal the facility value and even the protection where the extortion leverage may hide. So therefore, yes, maybe that it does not pertain to the critical infrastructure of the nuclear plant, but yes, these information are also as critical as the nuclear plant itself. Now, this is quite important because when it comes to the cyber attack, so we have the cyber architecture and ultimately we have certain. Now, you must remember these, bodies, because ultimately you may be asked question about this in your prelims, and ultimately you may be able to discuss, or you should be able to distinguish between certain and even NCIIPC. Now, when it comes to certain, it had been established under the section 70B of IT Act in 2000. Now, the scope for the certain is that there is an entire civilian internet ecosystem, whether it is government, it is the enterprise, or even the individuals, everything comes under the certain. And the role is that it is a national nodal agency for any of the cyber incident response, and the parent is MITI, that is the Ministry of Information and Technology, and this case was flagged the 2019 malware, and anyway, even right now it is investigating the 2026 breach as well. Now, there is NCIIPC. Basically, it had been established under section 70A of the IT Act, but it was not in 2000, but it was notified in January 2014. Now, over here, the scope is narrower and deeper because it is actually only for the designated critically information infrastructure. The role is to protect the notified CIIs, and it issues the vulnerability advisories and the parent over here is NTRO, which is basically the intelligence community. And in this case, the plant likely falls under its remit. The contractor survey, it may not. So basically the plant is covered by the remit of the NPCIL, but not basically the contractor which had been targeted by the cyber network. Now over here it is also important that there is wider ecosystem where we have NCCC, or the National Cyber Coordination Center, which actually is the situational awareness and threat coordination across various agencies. Then we have DCYA, that is Defense Cyber Agency, which is tri-service military cyber agency which was established in 2019 and is operational since 2021, implements the joint doctrine for the cyber warfare operations. Then there is I4C as well, which is Indian Cybercrime Coordination Center, which is the basically cybercrime investigation and citizen reporting framework, and ultimately you can you can browse it from the cybercrime.gov.in as well. Now this is quite important because it pertains to the critical information infrastructure as well, and these are under section 70 of the IT Act 2000, where the computer resources whose incapacitation or the destruction, it would have a debilitating impact on the national security, economy, or even public health and safety, they are classified as the CII, or the critical information infrastructure. Now they may include the power grids, they may include the banking and the financial system, the telecom networks, the transport infrastructure, even the water supply, the oil and gas network, and the nuclear power generation. They are under the CII framework. So I hope that this is now clear to everyone, that although that there is no immediate risk, but the breach or the cyber attack that was there on the Kudankulam power plant, that could have a far-reaching implication in the future as well. So that would be all. Thank you very much guys for joining me over on the platform of StudyIQ, but do not forget that we have the Resolution P2I batch, which is the English medium batch for your GS foundation, based upon the SMART model, where you can enroll into this by using the code that is BRS Live, that will fetch you the maximum discount. Alright, so that would be all in this video. I will see you in the next, but till then, please do care of yourself, and also do not forget to like the session, to share the session with your friends, and also to subscribe if you have not subscribed it yet, so that you do not miss any of the updates in the future. So that would be all. Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care and Jai Hind.